I think you all have to click on that button or something,
Yeah,
and we're ready.
Got
Sorry,
it.
Marty, sorry to make you get up.
I need
Yeah,
the
you can be
exercise.
exercising. It's
There you
okay.
go.
There you go, Phyllis.
Phyllis, I already did a shout out for the sisterhood event. I just want you to know I did it.
Yes,
And
he did.
any
Good
event that
plug.
I do, I did it already today. Anyways, it's great to be with everyone, and we're really pleased you're here. This is part 2 of our series of great Jewish comedians who have passed away in the past year. And the first night we did a few weeks ago was Carl Reiner. Tonight is Jerry Stiller. And then on December 8th, right after Hanukkah, we'll have our last part of the series, and that will be about Jackie Mason. So it'll be guaranteed a fun night, a night to smile and to laugh, as will tonight. Tonight, what we're hoping we'll do over the next little while is we'll hear about the life of Jerry Stiller. We'll give you a chance to make any comments or any thoughts about him or reminiscing about him. We're also going to show you a number of video clips that are really indicative of his style, of his humor. We'll talk about his relationship with both his wife Ann-Meara and with his son Ben Stiller, because they're very important. And how often does someone work both with his spouse and his child? And they were two of his most memorable working relationships, and they were, and by far it was his relationship with Ann-Meara. So I'm going to start with a little bit of his overview of his life, and then we'll get into some of the video clips of his early career with Ann-Meara, his wife. So Gerald Isaac Stiller was born in Brooklyn on June the 8th, 1927. He was the first of 4 children. His father, a son of immigrants from Galicia, drove a taxi and later a bus. His mother, who was born in Poland, was a homemaker. Growing up in Brooklyn and on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, Jerry was inspired to perform by seeing Eddie Cantor and Jimmy Durante in person. He began acting at the Henry Street Playhouse while attending Seward Park High School. After serving in the Army during and immediately after World War II, he studied theater at Syracuse University under the GI Bill, learning about Greek tragedy and Shakespearean drama from the celebrated teacher Sawyer Falk. He began working in summer stock almost immediately after graduating in 1950 and was appearing off Broadway a few years later. It was in the early 1950s that he met his wife Ann-Meara, and they met in 1953 when they were both struggling actors and married shortly afterward. They worked together in 1959 with the Compass Players, an improvisational theater group that later evolved into the Second City. They began performing as a duo in New York nightclubs in 1961 and soon made the first of about 3 dozen appearances on the Ed Sullivan Show. And that's the first time I remember Stiller and Meara. I just remember on so many Sunday evenings that they were on, as was Topo Gigio. I don't know where that guy came, but Topo Gigio, I always remembered him as well. And
So cute.
there you go. Visually,
Eddie, kiss me goodnight.
there you go. Visually, Ann-Meara and Jerry Stiller were a study in contrasts. She was statuesque and bright-eyed. He was short and stocky and always looked a little lost. Another contrast formed the basis for much of their comedy. Her heritage was Irish American and Roman Catholic, and he was Eastern European and Jewish. Ann-Meara did convert in 1961 to Judaism. Their partnership flourished for more than a decade. And later on, I don't know if you remember the Blue Nun commercials that they were very popular with. And they eventually went their separate ways. They remained happily married and continued to perform together from time to time. And Ann-Meara died 6 years ago at the age of 85. So to begin our video clips for the evening, I'm going to start with one of their very famous clips. And this is from, this was very popular on the Ed Sullivan Show, and it also epitomized their relationship. So this is a piece from Stiller-Meara, and it goes like this. Just a second. Here we go.
Thank you very much.
Hold on. You can't hear anything, right?
No.
No.
No. I figured. Hold on. Let's see. Sorry. Okay. I'm just gonna.
Mark, you press
Thank
the
you very
camera.
much. Recently, there's been a lot of talk about computers in the newspapers. They've even managed to date people with the help of computers. So Jerry and I would like you to meet a couple who have been ideally matched by a computer, and they meet for the very first time.
How do you do?
How do you do?
I'm Hershey Horowitz.
I'm Mary Elizabeth Doyle.
Doyle?
Horowitz?
Horowitz. Horowitz. Hershey. My friends call me Hesh.
Doyle. D-O-Y-L-E. My friends call me Mary Elizabeth.
Is Doyle your real name?
Sure. Why wouldn't it be my real name?
I don't know. I mean, I was just hoping,
No, we're Doyles. We're Dempseys on my mother's side.
Dempsey.
Horowitz.
Schmolowitz on my mother's side. This computer's a very good thing.
Oh, terrific.
I was,
Listen,
I was reading all about it, you
takes
know.
all the guesswork out of meetings somewhere.
Yeah.
It's electronics, so you can't make any mistakes.
This is it was very cute, and it goes on, and they did those characters quite often during their times. That was actually from the Johnny Carson show. This is an audio piece. This is really clever. The name of this piece is called The Whale, and it's terrific. And we'll play the first couple minutes of it, but it's really clever. And she plays a reporter, and he plays a gentleman from New York who comes to visit his daughter, and you'll see what happens.
We'd like to bring you what we consider a newsworthy item at this time. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pauline Cedric, LBC News, speaking to you live from Laguna Beach, California. We are here on the beach at Laguna, where we are witnessing one of the greatest human interest stories of all time. Only 6 hours ago, this man, this human being, was found here on the beach in a state of complete exhaustion. He had been entombed alive for 24 hours in the abdominal cavity of a giant whale. This hero of the moment, may I say, the successor to Major Cooper in the eyes of his countrymen, has allowed us to interview him. He has, incidentally, been given bouillon by the Red Cross and a dry towel. Good evening, sir. This is Pauline Cedric, NBC News, speaking to you with all America watching. Just tell us in your own words, sir, how the horrible tragedy occurred.
Well, first of all, I came here to California 2 weeks ago to see my daughter.
I see. You are not a native Californian, sir.
I'm from New York. My daughter's from California. She lives here with this fella. Her husband.
Marvelous.
They have a house.
Excuse me, sir. Is this your only child?
This is my daughter.
Ladies and gentlemen, this man, this father, traveled over 3,000 miles to see his only child, little realizing that tragedy lurked ahead. Go on with your story, sir.
Well, they have a house
Yes.
up on the Palisades.
Yes.
You can see it from here.
Yes, I see.
A split level.
Wonderful.
From the...
Get to the point where the horrible tragedy occurred, sir.
Well, on the day it happened, I was in the water. Mm-hmm. I went in for a duck.
You were duck shooting, sir?
I took a duck in the water.
Oh, you took your pet duck in the water, I see.
I went in the water for a duck.
Do you mean you were fishing for a duck?
When you go in the water, you go for a duck in the water. A dip.
A dip, I see, a dip. For the benefit of our Midwest audience, duck and dip are synonymous. You took your duck, dip.
I was in the water.
Yes.
My daughter hollered up from the house, come up for lunch. Then she disappeared.
Well, actually, we know now, sir, that eventful moment, it was you who disappeared and not your daughter. Would you tell our viewing audience, when did you realize it was you who disappeared and not your daughter?
When she didn't holler help. Then I knew it was me who disappeared. It wasn't my daughter.
Yes, of course. Excuse my rudeness, sir. I should have asked you this much sooner, but what is your name?
Jonah.
Strange, ironic twist that this man sitting before us should bear the same name as one who long ago endured a similar fate. Go right ahead, Mr. Jonah.
Somebody else this happened to here before me?
No, a long time ago, sir.
This is someplace, this California.
Quite a while ago.
If it happened before, it'll happen again.
Don't think you understand, sir.
They should rope it off.
Well, I'm sure they
You don't leave a place like this open.
All right, Mr. Jonah, please, we're on camera.
New York, you don't have
This
this.
is California, sir. Let's discuss the whale. The whale, sir. Now, at what rate of speed were you traveling during this incident?
Well, you're not Vale.
Yes.
You don't know how fast you're going. It's not like you're on a fluke or a flounder or a pike. There's no wobble, no yaw.
No, yeah. Uh-huh.
He goes by knots. He don't go by miles.
Wonderful. Could you describe for us specifically now the interior of the whale?
Blubber. Wall to wall.
Marvelous. Mr. Jonah, you were there several hours, Mr. Jonah. Now, how actually did you spend your time in this hiatus?
It was in a Vale.
No.
We didn't go near Hyannis.
It's my fault. I'll rephrase the question. What I meant was the awful moment, the moment of terror and truth, when those mammoth jaws snapped behind you. What did you do then?
I sat down.
You sat down.
Yeah, the waiter said, sit down.
The waiter?
The waiter, the maitre d', looked like a waiter. Said, sit down, I'll bring you a menu. I looked at the menu. I ordered seafood.
You ordered seafood?
You're in a Vale, you're not going to order chicken or meat.
No, I know that.
Then the manager came over, said, I'm sorry, you need a jacket.
A jacket?
That's what I said, a jacket. Where am I at the Ritz?
Mr. Jonah, ladies and gentlemen, has suffered a tremendous emotional shock.
The food was good.
Of course that food was good. We all know what you went through, Mr. Jonah, and we respect you. Not only that, we have a surprise for you. Just before we went on the air, Mr. Ed Sullivan called. He wants you to appear on his program. Also, you have been voted the Man of the Year by the Laguna Beach Junior Chamber of Commerce.
This is too much.
Yes. Well, we have a few seconds left, sir. What are your plans for the future?
Well, first of all, I want to thank all these people for making this possible. This is very nice. But you should understand one thing. I'm a simple man, you see. I'm retired. All this excitement, it's too much. I think it's best I take it easy. Stay out here with a friend. I've known him for years. On his boat. He made it himself.
Wonderful. You'll have a very relaxing trip.
It'll be a little crowded.
Crowded?
Yeah, he has his sons, his wives, his sons' wives, the animals, 2 cats, 2 giraffes.
Thank you very much. This is Pauline Cedric signing off from Laguna Beach, California.
It's it's very clever, and that was their first appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show, and just really, and there were a few times where you see that he almost lost it and broke his character because he began laughing. And in a few minutes, you'll see one of those clips where that happens. So after Stiller and Meara broke up, it would be a number of years until his really big break came, and it was a whole new generation. And that's when he was cast as the role as George Costanza on the Seinfeld show. And even though that show ran 9 seasons, it wasn't until the 5th season that Jerry Stiller came on the show, and immediately he became one of the most memorable characters, and it seemed like he stole every scene that he was in. He was actually nominated for an Emmy Award in 1997. And as you all know by watching TV, you know that Seinfeld is on like 10 times a day on different stations, and the money they must have made on syndication is a lot. Anyways, this first clip that I'm going to show you from Seinfeld is one of the most popular ones, and this is a holiday that they invented called Festivus. And they were talking about Hanukkah, and they were talking about Christmas, and George confesses to the cast that about this holiday Festivus. It's really terrific. I hope you'll like this piece right here. Hold on, just a second.
Nothing. It's a card from my dad.
What is it? Dear son, happy Festivus? What is Festivus?
It's nothing. It's nothing.
When George was growing
Jerry,
up,
no.
his father hated all the commercial and religious aspects of Christmas, so he made up his own holiday.
Oh, and another piece of the puzzle falls into place.
All right.
And instead of a tree, didn't your father put up an aluminum pole?
Jerry,
No.
stop it.
And then weren't there feats of strength that always ended up with you crying?
Can't take it anymore. I'm going to work. You happy now?
I got your message. I haven't celebrated Festivus in years. What is your interest?
Well, just tell me everything, huh?
Many Christmases ago, I went to buy a doll for my son. I reached for the last one they had, but so did another man. As I rained blows upon him, I realized there had to be another way.
What happened to the doll?
It was destroyed. But out of that, a new holiday was born. A Festivus for the rest of us.
That must have been some kind of doll.
She was. And at the Festivus dinner, you gather your family around and tell them all the ways they have disappointed you over the past year.
And is there a tree?
No, instead there's a pole. Requires no decoration. I find tinsel distracting.
Frank, this new holiday of yours is scratching me right where I itch.
Let's do it then.
All right.
Festivus is back! I'll get the pole out of the crawl's face.
Oh, Frank.
Hello, woman. Well, happy Festivus.
What is that? Is that the pole?
George, Festivus is your heritage. It's part of who you are.
That's why I hate it.
It's a big dinner Tuesday night at Frank's house. Everyone's invited.
George, you're forgetting how much Festivus has meant to us all. I brought one of the cassette tapes. Read that poem.
I can't read it. I need my glasses.
You don't need glasses. You're just weak. You're weak.
Leave him alone!
All right, George. It's time for the Festivus Feats of Strength.
No! Get it off! No feats of strength! I Festivus!
We had some good times.
They nailed you on the 20 G's?
Busted cold.
It's made from aluminum. Very high strength to weight ratio.
I find your belief system fascinating.
Hey! Happy Festivus, everyone!
Welcome, newcomers. The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're gonna hear about it. You, Kroger, my son tells me your company stinks.
Oh, God.
Quiet, you'll get yours in a minute. Kruger, you couldn't smooth a silk sheet if you had a hot date with a babe. I lost my train of thought.
Jerry,
Gwen, how did you know I was here?
Kramer told me.
Another Festivus miracle.
I guess this is the ugly girl I've been hearing about. Hey, I was in a schwitz for 6 hours. Give me a break.
Gwen, wait! Ah! Bad lighting on the porch.
Hey, how did my horse do?
He had to be shot.
And now, as Festivus rolls on, we come to the feats of strength.
Not the feats of strength.
This year, the honor goes to Mr. Kramer.
Oh, gee, Frank, I'm sorry. I gotta go. I have to work a double shift at H&H.
I thought you were on strike.
Yeah, well, I caved. I mean, I really had to use their bathroom. Frank, no offense, but this holiday's a little out there.
Hey, Kramer, you can't go. Who's going to do the feats of strength?
How about George?
Good thinking, Cougar. Until you pin me, George, Festivus is not over.
Oh, please, somebody stop this.
Let's rumble!
I think you can take him, Georgie.
Hey, come on, be sensible.
Stop crying and fight your father.
Ow! I guess.
This is the best Festivus ever!
So he is out of control in certain scenes, and this one is one of the great scenes. You know, it seems that Jerry Stiller, as his character, is always yelling. This is a great scene that just shows that. It's called The Serenity Now.
I got no leg room back here. Move your seat forward.
It's as far as it goes.
There's a mechanism. You just pull it and throw your body weight.
I pulled it. It doesn't go.
If you want the leg room, say you want the leg room. Don't blame the mechanism.
All right, Dad, we're 5 blocks from the house. Sit sideways.
Like an animal. Because of her, I have to sit here like an animal. Serenity now! Serenity now!
What is that?
Doctor gave me a relaxation cassette. When my blood pressure gets too high, the man on the tape tells me to say, Serenity now!
Are you supposed to yell it?
The man on the tape wasn't specific.
What happened to the screen door? It blew off again?
I told you to fix that thing.
Serenity now!
All right, and one last one from Seinfeld, and this is one where they actually they almost lose their character. They start laughing because all he does is yell in the scene, and this is called "You Want a Piece of Me."
It's all right, George. You'll just pay a fine and that'll be it.
Why did the policeman have to yell at me like that?
Emma. Oh, Elaine, thanks for coming to pick me up. I can explain everything.
All right, well, we'll talk about it tomorrow at the office.
Okay, where's my boy?
Oh, my God.
I'm sitting at home reading a periodical, and this is the call I get? My son is a bootlegger? Ow! Who put you up to this? Was it her?
All right, wait a minute. I think you've got it backwards.
My George isn't clever enough to hatch a scheme like this.
You got that right.
What the hell does that mean?
That means whatever the hell you want it to mean.
You saying you want a piece of me?
I could drop you like a bag of dirt.
You want a piece of me? You got it!
So he goes on, and actually I have one more just because it's hilarious, and watch this one too. This is Frank Costanza with Kramer talking about a flashback.
Come on, Frank, I need you. I mean, the war was 50 years ago.
In my mind, there's a war still going on.
All right, what happened, Frank? What is it that you can't get over?
Incheon, Korea, 1950.
I was the best cook Uncle Sam ever saw. Slinging hash for the fighting 103rd. As we marched north, our supply lines were getting thin. One day, a couple of GIs found a crate. Inside was 600 pounds of prime Texas steer. At least it once was prime. The use date was 3 weeks past. But I was arrogant. I was brash. I thought if I used just the right spices, cooked it long enough.
What happened?
I went too far. I overseasoned it. Men were keeling over all around me. I can still hear the wretch screaming. I sent 16 of my own men to the latrines that night. They were just boys.
Frank, you were a boy, too. And it was war. It was a crazy time for everyone.
Tell that to Bobby Colby. All that kid wanted to do was go home. Well, he went home all right. With a crater in his colon the size of a cutlet. I had to sit him on a cork the 18-hour flight home.
Frank, now listen to me. 200 Jewish singles need you. This is your chance to make it all right again.
No. No, I'll never cook again. Never. Now get out of my house. Get out.
This food is fantastic.
Have you tried the Hamantaschen?
I can't get off the kishkas.
Hey, Jerry!
Vanya!
I just stopped by to thank you. That risk management stuff you wrote for me is killer.
Risk management?
It's gold, Jerry, gold. I got all these corporate gigs, and even Cynthia took me back.
So you went from the mailroom to director of corporate development in 2 days?
That's right.
How much are they paying you? I'll double it.
Well, these latkes are going like hotcakes.
Where's the powder sugar?
You know, Frank, you could take a break.
No breaks. I feel reborn. I'm like a phoenix rising from Arizona.
Quit it.
I can't churn out that pointless drivel anymore.
What? You can't quit. You're all I've got. I need you. Oh,
All right. He ended his career with Seinfeld in 1998 on May the 14th. And within a few months, he was back on another show called King of Queens, which was also one of these very popular sitcoms. It would end up playing for years as well, and then again in syndication. And this time he plays Arthur Spooner. And eventually, Meara would be on a number of episodes of King of Queens, and coincidentally, they married in the last episode that they were on together. So on the show. So this is a very cute clip. This is a great clip called Domino's Pizza, and let me get it back here, and it goes like this from King of Queens. Sorry.
Okay, hon. All right, then I'll see you around 10. All right, bye-bye. Listen, Carrie's not gonna make it home for dinner, so I'm gonna order her some pizza.
From where?
From Sal's.
Sal's? Have you lost your mind?
Okay, not Sal's. And from where?
A little neighborhood joint called Domino's.
Domino's?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, what's the number?
It's 1718-1168-011.
Look, I have way too many numbers, okay?
I gave you the area code.
We're in the area code. I don't need to dial it.
Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
1168.
Okay, you know what? How about a little phone number rhythm, huh? You know, a little bum bum ba, bum ba, bum ba. Got it?
I got it.
Okay.
1.
Yeah.
6.
Yep.
Teen.
I already dialed the 6. I can't go back in time and slip a 1 in.
Well, whose fault is that?
I'll make it a sandwich. Why don't you order from McDonald's?
Very cute. And here's one of him at his best. Enjoy this. It's another Seinfeld. Sorry.
Hello. I got some shampoo, 2 packs of juicy fruit gum, Playboy magazine, and a couple of these.
Need a price check on Nostra nasal decongestant, 50 milliliter.
That's all right. Just charge me whatever you want.
Nostra nasal spray. Can I get a price check, please?
It's for a friend. Good night, darling.
Good night, Daddy.
What have I become?
Okay, so let me get out of this for a second and share with you. Just really clever, and that one in particular showed his acting chops. He, before Seinfeld, he was in theater. He was in a show called Hurly Burly. He was both in I don't know if you saw the show The Ritz, and later was made into a movie. He was in 3 Men on a Horse. He was even in a Shakespeare show called Much Ado About Nothing, and later on in Two Gentlemen of Verona. And after King of Queens and after Seinfeld, he was in a number of films, including a film, and this was where his son, he was in 12 of his son's films, including Heavyweights, Zoolander, and a film and Zoolander, the sequel. He also was in a film called The Heartbreak Kid. And if you remember the original Heartbreak Kid that was back in the 70s with Charles Grodin, where he comes down, and I always watch, I've watched many times, where a guy gets married to this Jewish girl from New York, and they come down to Miami Beach for their honeymoon, and he meets Sybil Shepherd, who at the time in the early 70s was this beautiful model, and he falls in love with this model during the honeymoon, while he's on his honeymoon with this Jewish girl, and he has to tell her, 3 days into the honeymoon, that he wants to get divorced. And it's it was with Eddie Albert, who played in Green Acres, and Eddie Albert also was nominated for an Academy Award for that film. And then they made a sequel, and Jerry Stiller was in it as well. He passed away. He passed away in May of 2020, and the thing that I think is really important is that relationship he had with both his wife and his son, the close connection that they had, and there was another daughter as well to Seinfeld and Jerry Stiller, a daughter that's in the acting, that's an actress as well. But he had some comments. Some personal quotes that are very clever. And some of the things he said were, never go for the punchline. There might be something funnier on the way. And one of the reasons that he got into comedy, he said, during the Great Depression, when people laughed, their worries disappeared. Audiences loved their funny men. I decided to become one. And there's no question, all of us who are on this tonight, who are on this call with me tonight, this program, as you watched him, even in the early years with his wife, and then later on in those episodes that we saw clips of, you see a real comedic talent, and it's with a sense of nostalgia that we look back on this, and we think back. And it's nice to reminisce and to think back about those times, because they make you feel good. When you think back to those Sunday nights when there was nothing else on TV except Bonanza first, and then the Ed Sullivan Show, that was our Sunday nights. And today, with 10,000 things online and on TV and cable, I don't know. There's something that was there years ago that's not here today. So I want to take a few minutes and have you share any thoughts, any comments about your connections, your memories of Jerry Stiller, and any thoughts that you might have about Jerry Stiller. So we'll start with Bobby, because Bobby, I always like to start with Bobby. Bobby, if you're on our meetups, it would always be Kathy, because Kathy always starts our regular meetups, but it's you.
Okay. Well, my first, I'm glad you said that the first that they really, he came into prominence was with Seinfeld, because that's what I was trying to think. That's the only, I can't think of anything before I saw the two of them together. And I remember one time when he was on the Ed Sullivan Show, I was really shocked when he said they were doing one of their bits, and he said something to her, and he called her a shiksa. And I thought, oh my God, I can't believe he said that on national TV. But it was part of the bit, and but I thought that's really strange. So yeah, I always thought he was funny. He was really funny.
Speaking of the Ed Sullivan Show, one of the things that we'll learn about Jackie Mason when we have that program is that something happened on the Ed Sullivan Show that Ed Sullivan misconceived or misinterpreted, and it cost Jackie Mason a number of years in the business until he came out of it. And again, we'll talk about that in December. But that influence of Ed Sullivan, to be on his show and to get that national exposure, it could change people's careers, as it did. I mean, the Beatles would have still been the Beatles and would have still been successful, but it was that episode, in 1964 when they got on the Ed Sullivan Show, and that was it. They were, after that, everything exploded here in the United States for them. So thank you for sharing that, Bobby. Let's go to Phyllis and Marty, if you want to unmute yourself and share any thoughts.
Well, I like Bobby. I remember him from the Ed Sullivan Show, always funny. But he also was on another show, I think it was called Coach. He played the assistant to the coach. But anytime you saw him on any bit parts or whatever he do, any cameos or anything like that, it always was funny. You just knew you were going to get a laugh out of him. And like you say, very family oriented from what we've all known. It was really enjoyable. You couldn't miss out. You know, you always got a yuck or a laugh, something out of him. Always.
Correct.
One
Thank
of
you.
the things that I liked really more than the later stuff is when they were together. I liked their bantering. And it was just, you know, the humor and whatever their dialogue was. I just thought the talent was just incredible and just always, you know, whether it was off the cuff or rehearsed or whatever, you felt they were just bantering.
Yeah.
Right. You make a great point, Phil. It was so natural. You know, even though, you know, she is this, you know, Irish Catholic woman, and it's just that natural banter they had between them, and it was obvious throughout that anyone that watched it. So thank you. Kathy?
Actually, that's what I was going to say too, that I like the interplay between the two of them. You know, I didn't watch Seinfeld that much, just occasionally, but just Stiller-Meara, just, you know, that relationship that they had was good. And then, you know, I saw Zoolander, which was a really silly movie, but it was funny, and it's just cool to see, you know, Ben Stiller, like a son working with his father and stuff. I like that.
Yeah, great. And, you know, when I think of couples on Ed Sullivan, I always remember Edie Gourmet and Steve Lawrence. Like they were always on, you know, on Ed Sullivan, and they too, you know, they were very popular for so many years. And again, you talk about natural banter between the two of them, and they were such a hit I know they were in Vegas and they performed in the Catskills and all that too. So great. So thank you, Kathy. Larry Frankel, Larry?
We always talk about the Ed Sullivan Show being the golden age of television, which it really was. I have so many wonderful memories of watching the Ed Sullivan Show. But I was just watching the Seinfeld reruns, which I watched the show religiously during its first run. But those reruns have held up very, very well. You know, they really have. And I remember, I guess the last show, the last episode of the series was in 1998 or whatever. And I remember being at a business dinner, and like in the middle of the dinner, like two of the guys got up and said, "Gotta go. We're going to watch the last episode." It was that meaningful to everyone. I don't know why they couldn't have, you know, had a VCR back then or what have you, but they got up and left because they were not going to miss the last episode. That's pretty telling as to what Seinfeld meant. And it was really a clever show, really clever.
You know, all the lead actors are still alive, and it's just 23 years later, except for, you know, these supporting actors. And I've always wondered why they, you know, I'm sure they've been offered millions of dollars to get back together, but you know, she got successful with her own career, with Veep and other shows, and so but let's get back to tonight. Oliva, unmute yourself, and any thoughts?
No, I feel very fortunate because, you know, I have so many good memories of just sitting with my father, you know, and watching the Ed Sullivan Show, and also just being exposed to so many like Jewish comics. And I remember like sometimes we used to go like together as a family, and we would see, you know, some of those comics, you know, and just laughing at like Milton Berle, and, you know, just Jackie Mason. I've seen him, you know, live, and it was just so warm and funny, and so it's like very like warm in my heart, you know, and I enjoyed him very.
Thank you, Oliva. Thank you, Violet. I'm not sure if you're here, if you're listening. Oh,
I'm here.
Hi, Violet. Any comments?
No, just enjoying.
Wonderful.
Can't wait for Jackie Mason. He's my favorite.
There you go. Stuart, if you want to unmute yourself. This is, again, those that came on late, this is a dear friend of mine for many years, Stuart Gitlitz from Coconut Grove.
I
think it's very funny, Mark, that last time we did Carl Reiner. Carl Reiner was the straight man for Mel Brooks. And Meara was the straight man for Jerry Stiller. Same thing. She kept her demeanor and everything very straight, and his delivery was unbelievable. I was not a Seinfeld fan, but I did love King of Queens, and I think he's one of the funniest guys around. He got a little angry during these other ones. He did a lot of yelling, but his delivery, I mean, like in that whale routine, when he just said, the maitre d' and I asked for seafood. What else? You can't, inside a whale, you can't ask for chicken. But it was really good. But someone sent me something about the old Catskills comedians. And apparently, according to University of California, Berkeley professor, there was a time when 50% of the comedians were Jewish comedians at one time, even though only 2% of the population. And the names here, like Shecky Green, Red Buttons, Toady Fields, and all of them, they were just amazing. And Jerry Stiller's in that group. So I think you made a good selection here with Carl Reiner, now Jerry, and everyone knows Jackie there. So thanks, Mark. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Stuart. Craig?
Sure. Great, wonderful program, Mark. I grew up in New York in a household. I was a young child, but I always remember my parents watching not only Ed Sullivan on Sunday nights, where the likes of Stiller-Meara were on, but Merv Griffin, the Mike Douglas Show. And I also remember shows that Stiller-Meara, game shows that they were on, like Hollywood Squares or the Match Game PM, where their wit really came out. I'm sure behind the scenes, some of the stuff was scripted with the questions asked, but I am a huge fan of humor that doesn't involve cursing. And that was of a beautiful era, and I still value that type of humor the most. And it's just beautiful to hear and to reminisce. What a feel-good program this is this evening. It helps me in many ways, this program.
Okay, great. And speaking of Hollywood Squares, one of the shows that Jerry Stiller was on was the Paul Lynde Show.
Yeah.
And you talk about scripted answers. Paul Lynde, for whatever reason, always had like these zingers. Like, I don't know, they would save like the best jokes just for Paul Lynde sitting in that middle. I just think of him sitting in that middle square, and he would always have and then he would laugh that smirky laugh after. So he once had this comedy show as well, that he tried that wasn't very successful, that Jerry Stiller was on as well. Anyways, it's really nice to be with all of you and to get to smile and laugh a little. We all need that once in a while. And so I want to thanks to Craig, who is always my partner on these programs, and it's really nice to be with all of you. So Bobby, Violet, Lair, Stuart, Phyllis, and Marty, Kathy, Oliva, thank you very, very much for spending the evening together with us. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark is awesome.
Thank you, Mark. See you on the 8th.
See you on the 8th of everyone.
Yeah.